Waiba, Gana Ijala Jika Nyenda Gorjulu Yenola Ngaluma Dando Ngoranga. Hello, I'd now like to welcome you all here on Ngaluma country today. The ngora that we sit on today is called the Murajuga. Murajuga means hip bone in the Ngaluma language, and the Murajuga lies also has a name which is called the Barab. Many of the Barab has a story. Many of the stories lies within the rock carvings that you see around here.
The Dampier archipelago in Western Australia's northwest is renowned for two impressive features. It's home to one of the world's largest bulk export ports and home to what many believe is the world's foremost collection of rock art. These stone carvings, also known as petroglyphs, were created many thousands of years ago. There is more rock art here than anywhere else in the world. This cultural and historical richness occurs in a region that has recently become vital to Australia's economic well-being. With two such important assets existing in the one place, it's vitally important that a balance is struck that ensures the preservation of the rich historical record and the ongoing prosperity that flows from this resource-rich area for the benefit of all Australians.
The Dampier Archipelago, including the Burrup Peninsula, is arguably the richest area in the world for petroglyphs, that's engraved rock art. It's here across the whole of landscape, sitting in a context of campsites, ritual areas and mythological places. What sets this apart from most areas in the world is the incredible range and diversity in the subjects, in the techniques that are used to produce the images, as well as the stylistic forms. There is nowhere else that has this diversity. It's estimated that there are between 500,000 and 1 million petroglyphs scattered across the landscape, approximately 6,000 sites. Much of that area has not been surveyed in detail. It is only areas such as on the Rio leases where detailed surveys have been conducted.
1556.
The Dampier Archipelago is an area rich in resources, both food and water. Importantly, this allowed the inhabitants the time to produce the images on the rock art. Now, this rock art reflects the environment at which these people were living. What we find in the art is a switch from the early art dominated by terrestrial fauna such as the kangaroos and emus to later art dominated by turtles and fish, marine fauna. This reflects the change through time of the archipelago forming some 6,000 years ago.
What you see around me is the Barrup rock art. What represents these rock arts has been done from the Yaburara people. Yaburu, it means north in the Ngaluma language. Yabara means coming from the north area. What you see out on the rock carvings today is things that they hunted for on land and sea. Also, you would see artifacts on many of our rock carvings here, and what was used to hunt for these animals from this tribe here, the Yabara tribe.
The Burrup rock art comprises at least 5 major art phases spanning 25,000 years before present. The earliest phase features elaborate geometric configurations and figures with human characteristics, including distinct facial representations. The subsequent phase shows large outlines of emus and macropods. Then the development of a greater range of fauna being depicted, including reptiles, pythons, echidnas and Tasmanian tigers. Later phases show marine fish, turtles and birds, indicating the rise in sea levels that brought the coastline to the Burrup some 6,000 years ago. The latest phase features images of human figures with oversized hands and feet. To appreciate how old these images are, look at them in the context of European settlement in Australia. The first fleet arrived in 1788, less than 230 years ago. Some of the petroglyphs are up to 30,000 years old. That's more than 130 times further back in history. In July 2007, the Dampier Archipelago, including the Burrup Peninsula, was included in the National Heritage List. For many years, Rio Tinto has been implementing leading practice cultural heritage management standards.
Within the last probably 2,000 years for the production of that.
We have always recognised that protecting the rock art is not just a moral responsibility, it's also a legal one.
The beauty of this rock, which is a Tasmanian tiger or thylacine, is we know that the animal became extinct 3.5.
Under Section 17 of the Aboriginal Heritage Act 1972, it's an offence to excavate, destroy, damage, conceal, or in any way alter any Aboriginal site, or deal with or assume possession of any object on or under a site. In addition, the national heritage values of the archipelago are protected under the Environment Protection and Biodiversity Conservation Act.
The feet and legs going down, the neck and head here, an interesting 2 lines representing the wings, which is an unusual feature here. But in fact there are 7 such of these designs just within this small section of rock face, and there's part of the pattern that we can understand of how people occupied and used the past, and there's important values from scientific perspective, our understanding of how people lived in the past. But in addition to that, there are just the artistic values.
Rio Tinto takes a very serious view of its responsibility to protect heritage values. Severe government penalties are in place and will be applied in the event of any unauthorised disturbance of Aboriginal sites. On the Burrup, as well as naturally occurring degradation, the 2 major threats to the rock art are vandalism and dust. To limit the effects of dust, we'll continue to operate a robust dust suppression system at Dampier. To discourage and prevent vandalism, we offer cultural awareness training courses.
Placed after they'd engraved the macropod, and it comes through here and there's the tail. You just pick up the tail again here.
Develop interpretive materials and publications, and where necessary, install third-party controls such as fencing and signage. We believe our activities contribute to the conservation of the national heritage values of the Dampier Archipelago through a range of interconnected policies, standards and procedures. Our Aboriginal Heritage Policy recognises the special connection to country intrinsic to Aboriginal culture. Our ground disturbance permit system is a proven way to prevent inadvertent disturbance of sensitive sites. Rio Tinto acknowledges the duty of care that comes with operating a business on a landscape with national heritage values.
Some of the art is actually there as teaching for educating people. Some of the art has ritual functions. There are sacred aspects to the art. And then there is some images that were just done, as far as we can tell, for the sheer enjoyment, the artistic pleasure in the production of the image.
This area here is a area of teaching and educating the younger generations of many of our rock carvings that they have here today. Like many of our Ngaluma elders now say that the Burrup, the Murray Jogangora, is like a storybook There are obligations of each and every one of us, whether we be Burungu, Banaga, Balyeri or Garimara, to look after the country, what's on it, and how we treat it, and how we take visitors out on country, and also how we look after the visitors.
Nowhere else is there such a colossal and comprehensive image library of our ancient past. Rio Tinto is committed to fulfilling its legal and moral responsibilities to ensure this national treasure is protected and preserved.